Before the millions of fans, before the platinum plaques, before the prison gates swung open in July 2024, there was a woman by his side. She loved him before the name Vybz Kartel became legendary. She stood tall through fame, betrayal, and bars. But even the strongest love has limits. This is the untold story of Tanesha Shorty Johnson, mother to his children, first queen of Gaza, and the woman who held it all together until it fell apart. You know Kartel, but do you know the woman who loved him long before Sidem? Tap that like, hit subscribe, and drop a below if you've ever had to walk away from someone you thought you'd love forever. Young love in Portmore. Before the tattoos, before gazanation, before prison or platinum records, it all started in Portmore, Jamaica. A young Adidja Palmer, not yet Vybz Kartel, was chasing his dream in the early 2000s when he crossed paths with a teenage girl named Tanesha Johnson, aka Shorty. She was just 17. He was a rising DJ with big dreams and a fire in his belly. What began as casual flirting turned into deep love. They connected not just physically, but spiritually. Shorty wasn't a groupie. She was a partner, a believer, and soon, a foundation. As Kartel began rising through the dancehall ranks, Shorty was there every step of the way, helping him navigate industry politics, financial challenges, and the early pressures of fame. Their bond was real. The chemistry, undeniable, building a family. As love blossomed, so did their responsibilities. Kartel and Shorty built a life together and went on to have 3 sons, Little Vybz, Akil Palmer, Little Addy, Adidja Jr., and a younger son. They lived together, worked together, and raised their children in a tight-knit household that became the heart of Gaza Nation. Behind the wild headlines and controversial lyrics, Kartel was a father. And Shorty, she was the boss behind the boss. She played multiple roles: mom, manager, gatekeeper, brand protector. When Kartel got into legal trouble, she handled press inquiries. When he needed help organizing shows or business moves, she stepped in. She wasn't just a partner, she was a CEO in the shadows. It was Shorty who helped keep the brand alive during some of its most chaotic moments. And through it all, their love seemed bulletproof: the fall, prison, scandal, and survival. Then came September 2011, the moment everything shifted. Kartel was arrested and later charged with murder. It was a massive blow to Jamaica and dancehall, but for Shorty, it was devastating. She was suddenly raising 3 children alone while dealing with the collapse of the man she loved and his rising legal troubles. She visited him in prison, stuck by him in court, defended him in interviews, and ran the Gaza brand from the outside. Many women would have walked away, but not Shorty. She became his lifeline behind bars. He was still writing music, often smuggled out through coded calls or trusted associates, and Shorty helped get it released. They were still a couple, despite the bars between them. At least, that's what the public believed. But by 2019, the walls began to crack. Rumors began swirling of Kartel's involvement with a woman named Sidem, a fan-turned-lover reportedly from the UK. Sources close to the prison claimed they began corresponding in 2019. Photos surfaced, letters leaked. Soon, Sidem was wearing Gaza gear, representing him online and gaining prominence among his fan base. For Shorty, it wasn't just betrayal, it was heartbreak. But still, she never disrespected him publicly. She stayed silent, even as the world talked. The silent separation. By 2020, Shorty was noticeably distant from Kartel's brand. She skipped his court appearances, She stopped posting his photos. The chemistry that once held them tight now seemed to have dissolved into cold distance. Then came the surprise album, To Tanesha, 2020, a project Kartel dedicated to her from prison. It was raw, emotional, and soaked in regret. Tracks like Delusional and Then You and Me gave fans hope of a rekindling. But Shorty's reaction? Silence. Behind the scenes, sources confirmed the two had separated privately, years before the album's release. They still co-parented, still spoke about the kids, but the romantic chapter was closed. Shorty focused on her own lane. She launched her own label, Short Boss Music, and started managing her sons' careers, especially Little Vybz and Little Addy, who were finding their own voice in dancehall. She didn't need a man. She had legacy. New queen, same king. By the time Kartel's relationship with Sidem became public, it was clear that Gaza had a new queen. Sidem was front and center on his social media. She posted photos, wore jewelry he allegedly sent her, and referred to herself as Mrs. Palmer. The two even appeared in video calls from prison, leading to public backlash and curiosity. But Shorty, she stayed silent. Even as fans begged her to speak out, she refused to drag her family through the mud. Instead, she poured her energy into her boys, her brand, and herself. No drama, no clapbacks, just growth. She kept her circle tight, and her moves even tighter. July 2024. Freedom, but no reunion. When the world heard the news, Vybz Kartel was finally released from prison in July 2024. Fans expected a reunion with the woman who held him down for over a decade. But when the gates opened, it wasn't Shorty by his side. It was Sidem. Photos and videos emerged of Kartel walking out with his UK-based partner, dressed in Gaza gear, smiling and holding his hand. Some fans were shocked, others were heartbroken. But Shorty, she had already moved on. She didn't comment publicly. Instead, she reposted a simple quote on Instagram. Some love stories end, not because they weren't real, but because peace is more important than pain. In a quiet moment of grace, she bowed out. Privately, she celebrated the release with her sons and close friends, but there was no public display, no second chapter. She knew her story with Kartel had already ended, long before the world caught up. Life after Kartel, Shorty's next chapter. Today, Tanesha Shorty Johnson is no longer the shadow behind the king. She is a queen in her own right. She continues to run Short Boss Music, manages her sons' growing music careers, and has turned her focus toward fashion, philanthropy, and female empowerment. She's reportedly in a new relationship, low-key, secure, and peaceful. No more scandals, no more prison visits, no more heartbreak. She speaks occasionally in interviews, but never disrespects Kartel. She acknowledges his role as the father of her kids, but her story no longer revolves around him. She's still in Portmore, still grounded, and still raising kings. But this time, she's doing it for herself. Some love stories don't end with fireworks. They end with quiet strength and silent goodbyes. Tanesha Shorty Johnson taught us what loyalty looks like, and also when to walk away. She was the woman behind the world boss. Now, she's the woman building her own empire. If you respect Shorty's strength, drop a Queen Shorty in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful untold stories from the world of dancehall, culture, and Caribbean greatness. We've got more coming, because behind every king, there's a woman whose story deserves to be told.